Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and do another instructional video for you. This is a Crown C5. The issue with this particular unit, it is overheating. You can see it's starting to run a little hot right now. If I continue running it, it will go to the red and it will overheat. There's a quick way to troubleshoot these. Now these particular machines have a thermostat in this hose. There's a housing and it has this basically in there. So this is the thermostat that's in that assembly. So a quick way to test to see if your thermostat is good or bad, get yourself a little temperature gun and you aim it right at the housing. You can see that 215 degrees. Okay, so the temperature should be close to coming up this way, which that's already running hot. And then the hose itself, you can see it's only at 119. You can see down here, the output of the radiator at 117, 112. But if you go to the housing, it's at 209, 212, 213. It keeps going up. So you know that there's a restriction there. Alright? So that's a quick way to tell your thermostat is stuck. Now in this particular lift, it came in for a leaking coolant hose, and it leaked most of the coolant, and we had to leave it like that for about a week or so until we got the part in. But the thermostat wasn't bad. The reason it went bad is because there was no fluid in there, and all the antifreeze got stuck to it, and it made the thermostat fail. Alright? So we're gonna go ahead and give it some more fuel to make sure that it's, see if it does overheat, which it will at this point. Alright guys, so once we let the engine cool down and there's no pressure in the cooling system, we're gonna go over here where the water pump is at, and you can see we have a butterfly valve right there. By the way, it's leaking, but I put this hose to kind of direct the coolant, that way we can reuse it. You can see it's going down there, so it just is dripping into a pan down there. That way we try to keep the coolant as much clean as possible. We are going to filter it before we put it back in the system, but we're going to wait until she goes and drains. There we go. You can see it's running really hot, and on the temperature gauge it's on the red. So at this point we're going to go ahead and shut the machine down to prevent any further damage. All right, so we got it shut down. Now what we have to do is we have to wait for it to cool down. It is way too dangerous to open up the cooling system while the machine is hot. There's a lot of pressure built up right now. This hose is solid almost, but we got to make sure it cools down, and let's go ahead and do that, and I'll show you guys how to properly remove the coolant and also remove the thermostat efficiently and quickly. All right, so once we got the coolant drained, we're gonna go ahead and take this clamp off. Wiggle this hose, get it up out of there. There you go. You can see there is a thermostat. So there is a snap ring right here, and we're gonna use our snap ring pliers to go ahead and take it out. Like that. Be careful, these things can hit your eye. It does hurt a lot. So we have our new thermostat right here and our new snap ring. We're going to place this to the side, and we're going to try to pull this thermostat. Hopefully it's not too stuck in there. There we go. Oh, like a glove. Easy peasy. Stick the new one in there. Tight squeeze. There we go. I'm going to use the pliers to kind of keep pushing it down. There you go. Make sure that it's past the little ridge right there. That way we can get our new snap ring in there. Okay, go ahead, Place it in. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a screwdriver, push it down. There you go. You guys heard it snap. You could check, it's already all in there. And that's it. So now we're gonna go ahead and put this back, put this hose on. Install your little clamp. I always orient them behind the hose, facing towards the pulley, just it makes it easier with a little extension to get in there. You gotta make sure it's on there correctly, because you don't want it to be a little crooked and then start leaking on you once you pressurize the system. Alright, you don't want to over tighten it because you don't want to strip that. Cool. And then we're gonna go ahead and vacuum out the system. I have an airlift tool that's gonna suck all the air from inside the cooling system. These hoses are gonna collapse, and that way we can also check to make sure there's no leaks anywhere else in the system. If there is, we'll be able to tell, and if not, if it holds, we'll be able to just throw the coolant inside. Alrighty, so we went ahead and hooked this little device up. So this is called an airlift. You hook it up to where the radiator cap goes, and what we're going to do is we're going to use air pressure, and it's going to create a vacuum. If you want to take a note, look at how the coolant hoses look right now. All right, they look like that, and in a second they're going to collapse, and it's going to create a vacuum. Basically what it does is it vacuums all the air that's inside the system. This is great for not having any air bubbles in there, causing your engine to overheat once you do, you know, the thermostat or water pump or whatever you do to your engines. These can also be used for an automotive field, and a lot of people use them because usually a car has a bleeder valve on the water pump. These particular engines don't have that, so we're going to go ahead and do that. You can see going into a vacuum. You don't want to go past the green. Alright, so I'm going to leave it at that. Right now it's about 19 inches of water. That's the expression used. INHG. So it's under a vacuum. I'm gonna let it sit for about 5 minutes, come back and check it, and it should stay in the exact same spot. If it doesn't, that means we have a leak somewhere. So at that point I'm gonna have to pressurize the system and find where the leak is. But for now, we're gonna let it sit for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back to it. All right, so 5 minutes have gone by and it is in the exact same spot. One thing I want you guys to see is look at the coolant hose, see how it's collapsed, and the bottom one should be as well. So there is no air in that system right now. Everything's under a vacuum. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is take advantage of that vacuum, and I'm gonna suck up the coolant. Suck up the coolant up using this same device. So now I'm gonna disconnect it from the air. Have my little suction hose, and it's very important that you have a little filter at the end of it, because you don't want to suck up any particulates or any contaminants into your engine. As you can see, the coolant is pretty clean in our drip pan. All right, it's pretty clean, so I'm gonna go ahead and hook it up. All right, put it in here. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the valve, and it's gonna suck the coolant in. You'll be able to see it. Ready? Here it goes. There you go. Now the coolant is getting sucked into the system, and it's going to go into the engine. At the same time as it's going in, it's replacing, so there's no air in there, so it's just replacing the empty void that's in the vacuum. We're going to go ahead and wait for it to fill up all the way, and then we'll get back to it. Alright guys, so we went ahead and put the coolant in as much as we could. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the radiator cap off and start her up. And we're gonna let her get up to temperature. The reason I leave the radiator cap off is to let any extra air that bursts out just come out. That way it doesn't overheat on you. Alright, so she's all warmed up. As you can see, it's got only 2 little bars. We did have the throttle down for about 10 minutes, full throttle. We're going to go ahead and check the temperatures for the thermostat housing. So, you can see, it is 183 on the top, 131, 30. So we're seeing about, 50 degrees difference. The thermostat does become a restriction, but it is flowing coolant through the housing and through the thermostat itself. So we are good to go. And that is after 10 minutes of full throttle, staying level around 188 degrees. So we're good to go. So there you have it. That's how you take care of these overheating issues on these C5s. That's another simple way. Another way is also make sure your screens are clear. So hopefully this helped you guys. Quick and easy way to do it. See ya.